Good afternoon, YouTube. So this is a little different. Instead of putting out a video on Kubernetes, this channel is really dedicated to automation orchestration, specifically of Big IP in general and around Big IP. And I'm trying to bring some more things in here with regards to automation. And one of the items that I want to start getting a little bit deeper into is declarative onboarding. Why? Because I think it's something that's there. I don't know how many folks are leveraging it other than from what I've seen from some working with customers, GitHub issues, but it's actually really cool. But what I want to talk about now is a behavioral change that's coming in the up and coming version of declarative onboarding. And I want to put this video out there to make sure that people are aware of this change. So the current version of declarative onboarding is 1.1.35. That was released about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we're going to be releasing another version on the 9th of February, 1.36. And in 1.36, we're making a behavioral change specifically around security. And so what that means, you can see 1.36 here. I've put this on my device. But the changes that are going to take effect are actually on the self IPs itself. So if you take a look at my self IPs here, I have two self IPs, internal self and external self. So if I look at the external self, you will know that by default in declarative onboarding, currently we allow something called default. And so if we look at what that looks like from a perspective of the declaration, you can actually see here's internal, and actually physically in the internal right there. This is the internal, this is the external, but you'll see that you'll notice that there's no defaults. But actually, if I do a get against it, you can actually see that the default is actually allowService of default, right? Which is somewhat problematic because hypothetically that's not inconsistent with what the device, with what Big IP UI is. Big IP UI default is of none. And so that's the change that we're making in 36. And there has been some warning statements when you post a declaration on that. So I've changed the version. So let's go and post an update of this declaration and let's see what happens. Now I'm using VS Code extension. I kind of like it because the integration is quite easy. And so I have a very simple DO declaration with my common tenant, with my DNS name, my NTP, my internal. So I'm doing a very simple internal network and an external network. And I'm going to go ahead and add to this. This is the declaration I'm going to build on. You're going to see the next video is going to show how to set up a high availability cluster. So you can see here that I'm not specifying any of the defaults, right? I'm just going to use the existing defaults. Here's for internal, here's for external, and you'll see that there's no HA. So very, very simple config. Let's go ahead and post this. We'll post this to the DO declaration. You can see it's going to post it here. What I'm hoping is that since I changed the version to 136, we should see the updated change on the interface now because we've changed the default in 136 from a allow default of all, as you can see right here while that's going. We have our default, if you want to call it port lockdown, to default. We should see a change to none once this declaration has finished. So we'll go ahead and let this finish. Shouldn't take too long to do this, and we'll go and view the change. And as you can see, there is the change of the declaration, 200 OK. You'll notice there's the warning. This warning value for allow self on the self IP changed. You can actually see it there from default to none in the AS redeclaration. So you can see there is the warning. Self IP changed from default to none. And so if we go back and look at that declaration, we'll go down to the interfaces and we should see these interfaces of allowService from default to none. And so that is the new change. If I go refresh this UI, we should see that change effect on the UI as well. And so that is really, really, really important. So there you go. That's the behavioral change that's happening between Declarative Onboarding 135 and 136. So to recap, the change is basically from port lockdown to allow traffic in to allow no traffic in. I do understand this behavioral change potentially could be impacting, and that's one of the reasons why I'm putting this video out there. So please be aware. Please be aware. Let me know if you have any challenges. And thank you very much.